Hi, very good morning, everyone. Now it's time we begin with our module number 4. So, let me take you through the contents of module 4. So, this module is about writing skills. Um, we have already discussed that writing is also one of the important form of communication. So, in this entire module, we will be looking at different forms of written communication. Like first thing we are going to discuss is what are the principles of effective written communication, parts of business letters, types of business letters, formal communication pertaining to employment, memos, CV, writing emails, 3 by 3 writing process for business communication, that is pre-writing, writing and revising, and then preparing reports and proposals, and formal speeches, presentation techniques. So these are all the forms of written communication. This is what we are going to discuss in this module. Now, of course, all of you will agree that writing is considered as an integral part, of your communication, because even the emails, of course, uh, these days, we don't see a lot of people sending letters, business letters. Letters are though in, but it has still reduced compared to what it was before 10 years in the past, because earlier for all the types of business communication and even for all the types of personal communication also, people used to send letters. So every now and then everybody will receive a letter, be it a business letter or be it a personal letter with any kind of social purpose. But nowadays, because earlier there were no telephones, there were no computers, there were no emails, people were not used to computers. They didn't have their email IDs, so that exchange of information become easier. So that was a challenge before. Even in business, that was a challenge. But nowadays, I think things have changed. Now hardly people send business letters, but they still do, of course. For a lot of things, like letters are sent. Otherwise, email is one of the common form of communication, and then people rely on the informal communication also, informal way of communicating. For example, people will use, let's say, WhatsApp to pass on the messages, or in the organization, if it's organization, right, then phone calls, of course, is a way of communicating. Or they have their own websites, they have their own portals in which they will share the information and it will be reaching to the clients or the employees. So these are some of the ways in which communication is done, and other information is shared through emails. Like if there is any confirmation needed, like some confirmation email will be there. If client wants to give you the order, for purchase of certain product, then they will send an email. So that acts as a proof. Email is of course considered very reliable. It acts as a proof, so then email is shared. And and uh, the the the, com- the company also will acknowledge the email and send the receipts and everything through your email IDs. So most of your work is in today's time is done through email when we're talking about the formal communication. But though language always remains a problem, because even if you should know a good language to write a draft an email, otherwise you cannot just write informally, right? So same thing about letters also, but still we have to learn what letters are, what are the types of business letters, at least for you to understand that what are the types of business letters and why they are important. So this is what we are going to cover in this particular module. Now, something about written communication. So written writing is crucial to modern organization. Reports, proposals, manuals, plans, memos, letters, emails, notices, circulars, websites are all the form of written communication. So you just read it once. Reports. So you have to prepare the reports, right? As an organization, you have to prepare report for everything. It can be your sales report, it can be your weather report, it can be production, purchase report, anything. So at least you can summarize, and then somebody can check and strategize within the organization. So reports are important. So that is number one. Next one are the proposals. If you want to send proposal to somebody, right, for this is again important, because as a business, you want to get into many different things, maybe your purchase or maybe different line of products, anything. So then you want to send a proposal to the client organization. So that means you should know how to write a proposal. Then manuals talking about your products, all the details about the organization and the products, so that also is important. Then plans, then memos is also memo. You issue a memo when some message has to be passed within the organization. So memos, letters, emails, notices also commonly used, circulars and website, right? All these things are form of written communication, so we will discuss each one of them very quickly. Now, what is the objective of written communication? So see, basic things: either you write to inform, right? You're sending a letter to inform something, or you're writing a notice to inform something, or it can be to persuade, to convince somebody that yes, I would like to purchase this thing if you give me good quotes. So either to inform, or to persuade something, or to sustain a relationship, or to record, to maintain a record. You write reports, or to convey routine matters. Any kind of routine matters can be conveyed through one of the forms of written communication. So these are the reasons of written communication. Now, what kind of messages we normally share? So either it can be positive or negative or good news, right, which reflects goodwill. For example, you are sending a letter to appreciate something or somebody, or you're writing a letter to show your sympathy, or you're writing a letter to thank somebody, for whatever XYZ reason. So that means these are positive or good news. Next one, negative or bad news. So obviously, because it's negative and bad news, it's undesirable or disappointing. For example, some kind of denials, some kind of rejections. Somebody has applied for the job and now is checking, and all you have to do is like send a letter, they're rejecting or denying the offer. So unfortunately, that's a sad thing. Or refusal, you're writing a letter after you've received the offer letter, because um, you don't want to take part, or you don't want to join the company. So that is negative or bad news. Next one, neutral or routine messages. So they are important, but of least emotional. Yeah. So when neutral messages are there, they doesn't involve those kind of emotions, whether it's positive or good you should be happy, or it's negative you should be sad. So they are just neutral or routine messages, right? For example, they just the acknowledgement of something, or just the inquiry of something, or request of something. So they does not involve lot of emotions. And next one are the persuasive or influential messages. Something which is intended for someone to act upon. You are trying to convince somebody to act upon something. So those persuasive messages also will have that kind of language. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आप रिक्वेस्ट करें, you are trying to convince somebody, so then you have to show the benefit of why to use that kind of language. So you are trying to either motivate or make others agree, right? जैसे आपने कुछ proposal भेजी है, तो obviously you want somebody else to accept the proposal, तो आपको उसको बहुत convincing language में ज़्यादा offers दे के ऐसा आपको लिखना पड़ेगा. yeah, for any other reasons, like you want to buy something or replace something, so then you'll have to write a very influential message ki somebody will feel that, yeah, this is true, this is good, let's do it. So that is the type of messages. Yeah, sorry for the delay. So, yeah, now we are talking about the approaches to writing. So, how do we write? So there are two ways in which you write. One is called direct approach, and second one is called indirect approach. So what is direct approach? So indirect approach, there is a way in which we write that is called big idea first, BIF approach. BIF means big idea first. So that means whenever you're writing, you don't have to talk about the introduction part, and you don't have to talk about any other thing, but all you have to do is, like, whatever your idea is, whatever the message is, whatever the communication is, that thing has to be communicated straight away. First thing you do is just share about that thing. So that is big idea first. And second one is indirect approach, that is bill approach, big idea a little later. So whatever the important messages, what you do is first you try and create a background, try and give some kind of introduction, let the person be ready, and then you share what is your goal, what is the purpose of writing, and then share the purpose. So that is called big idea a little later. So these are the two ways, approaches in which you will be writing. Either it is called direct approach or it is called indirect approach. Now there are some five main stages are given in writing. First go through it and then we can discuss. Now let us discuss what are the five main stages in writing. So the first stage is called pre-writing stage, then comes drafting, then comes revising, then comes formatting, and then is proofreading. So what are these stages? First one, pre-writing stage. Now, when it is pre-writing stage, it means it's time for you to be very clear about what is the purpose of writing this, writing anything. For example, you want to send a letter to somebody. So be clear of the purpose, because accordingly you are going to select the format, accordingly you are going to select the language that you use, right? So, and accordingly you will be organizing your letter. You will have to also collect the data. Let's say if you're just sharing a sales report to your senior, then you will have to collect all the data related to sales for 1 month or quarter or year, and accordingly you will have to include it in the report and send. So first thing, be very clear with purpose, be very clear with who is your reader, be very clear with the data, collect the data, organize it and outline it. That is pre-writing stage. Then comes the drafting stage, wherein you try and maintain the right balance by right words and tailoring language to the audience, right? As per your audience, you need to use the language. Next one is revising phase. So after you draft, you always try and revise, because these are not personal messages, right? These are the professional or business messages, business letters or business memo, and so you all you do is, like, you try and revise it. So when you revise it, it is the process of modifying. Whenever you feel, if you feel that, yeah, some changes are needed, then you make the changes so that you can increase the effectiveness of the written document. After that comes the formatting part. Now till now it was about writing part, the words, language. Now comes the formatting part. So check on the appearance, check on the design elements, check on the professional look, and it should be appropriate to specific message, right? Like mostly in informal communication, for example, even if you are writing the email, you will have the options of adding some kind of emoticons, right? Or you can add, let's say, some smileys and some symbols you can add. But if you're sending a professional email, then obviously you want to avoid all these things or use it like minimal, right? So that means it should be appropriate to the message and to the person whom you are sending. And last one is proofreading. So what is proofreading? Read from printed copy. Proofreading is the ultimate thing. At the end, proofreading is very important. So mostly you try and read from the printed copy. So it is said that, I mean, for any normal document is okay, but if something really important is there, for example, let's say that you are working on the contract between two different firms or between partners, then you really want to proofread it, because any one single mistake, can be considered as dangerous. So when you do proofreading, rather than reading from the screen, because online or reading from the screen is not so effective compared to reading physically. So it's always better that you try and take out the printout and then read it peacefully. So read from the printed copy, allow time, read aloud. Yeah, try and read loudly, double check names, yes, spellings, punctuations, etc. So this is how you proofread the entire document, and finally it's ready. That is called proofreading. So these are the 5 main stages in writing. Now when we are talking about steps for effective writing, this is part of your syllabus. So what are the steps for effective writing? Planning, composing and evaluating. First you plan, then you compose, and third one is evaluate. So what is planning? I'm going to read it over here. See, set the objectives, know your readers, research for the material, structure the material, decide on appropriate medium, layout and design decisions. All these things has to be planned. Set objectives, know your readers, research for the material, collect the material, structure the material, then decide the medium, decide on appropriate medium, and layout and design decisions. This is about the planning part. Next one is composing part. Now what do you compose? Adapt to readers. According to the requirement of the readers, you have to set your language and tone of the language that you're using. Choose the right language. Decide the tone and style. You have to decide the tone and style that you're going to use. Opening and closing of the message you also need to consider. And positive, negative, neutral and persuasive messages should be treated accordingly, and use of technology is also what we can consider. So this is about the composing part. And finally evaluating the part. So evaluate the content. Finally you've already written, then now you should evaluate content. Evaluate the structure, try and proofread, and rewrite and produce. So this is about the evaluation part. Now, in this module, the first mode of written writing is letter. So, we are going to discuss letter writing. Now, what is the purpose of letter writing? Why do you write letters? So, there can be so many different reasons. First thing, you want to inform about something, right? Or you want to inquire. Let's say that you are looking for some quotation about some products that you are looking for. So, you will send a letter of inquiry. Next one, to request. You want to request about something, right? So then you send a letter. Next one is complain. You want to complain. Let's say that you've already purchased the product, and you found a default product. It was default. So then you want to complain about the product. Next one is congratulate. You are writing a letter because you want to congratulate to somebody, right, for anything, right? Let's say that introducing a new line of products. Next one is to order. If you want to place an order for something, you write a letter. Next one is to sell products, service or scheme. You want to sell something, so you will write a persuasive letter. Next one is to collect the dues. You want to collect some dues, and that's why you are writing a letter. Next one, to make an adjustment. You want to make an adjustment to, let's say, a contract or some deal which was there, or some offer which was there, right? So that is can be a purpose. And to apply for the job, this also can be there, right? Job application letter. Now once again I say that these days, people are not writing so many letters, right? Traditionally in organization it is still of course in use, but apart from that people prefer writing emails, because email is considered as a formal form of communication, and email writing has its own advantages, right? For example, letter, it takes time in reaching, you need to courier it and all that, but it is much convenient to write an email, because it will be reaching to person immediately, and nowadays everybody is using email. But since this is part of your syllabus, it is also important to know how to write a letter, so we will be understanding that. Now see, these are the components of letter. First one is heading, inside address, salutation, subject or reference line, body of the letter, complimentary close, signature block, and other things. So these are the components of the letter. Please read it once again, then we will discuss. All right, let's move ahead. See, look at the structure. Now we're going to discuss all the elements or components of the letter. So first thing is heading, right? Heading is company's name, your address, contact number, and registered office number. So first comes the heading part. After that comes the date. So there are two ways in which you can write the date: British style and American style. 10 October 2014 or 10th October 2014, and American style is October 10 2014. So I think October 10 2014 American style is used a lot. Next comes the inside address. After that you write the inside address. So with open punctuation means no punctuation at all. Everything in a straight line. Mr. V. Kalyan, Director, Excellent Institute, Mumbai. There are no comma, no full stop, nothing. After that comes the reference line. So if there is reference line, for example, attention, you want somebody to pay attention, if this is meant for somebody, or personal and confidential, then this is a reference line is optional. After that, first thing your letter starts with is salutation. So dear sir, dear ma'am, dear Mr. Gupta, depending upon who you writing the letter. If you're writing a letter to somebody whose name you know, at least you know the name, you're directly addressing to one person, then you can write dear Mr. Gupta. If you don't know whether the name of the person, you can write dear sir. If you're writing to a very senior person, you can always write dear sir or dear ma'am. And if you don't know whether there is male or female, then you can write dear sir / ma'am. Then comes the subject part. You should be clarifying the subject. Subject is important. Even when you are writing an email, right, you will always write the subject, so that somebody who is receiving will exactly know what is the entire email or entire letter all about. So that is the subject. After that comes your main message. So for message there is opening or introduction, then there is main body, and then there is concluding section. So mostly divided into 3 para. Again, your letter, your email should not have unnecessarily content. These days people are just trying to gather the content from with the help of AI and or chat gpt, and then you have a big lot of content coming. So don't write so many paragraph that your reader will not be interested in reading. Your main point, it should be precise, it should be concise, so that at least reader will pay attention to the message which was supposed to be shared, and not waste unnecessarily waste of time doesn't happen. Next one is complimentary close. Then you write yours sincerely, yours truly. Mostly it is written sincerely is the ideal way of writing it, sincerely, or best regards or regards. This can be your complimentary close. And then comes your signature block, means you sign it and write your name. And then comes the others may you can have enclosure notation. If there is an enclosure, you can always write ENCL and write number 1 what are the enclosures, number 2 copy notations. If you have shared the same letter to somebody, you can always write CC, means it has been sent to somebody, CC to name of the person. Nowadays in email also you have this option of CC. So then CC means you are also sending the same email to somebody else. For letter also it is the same. And then comes the postscript. PS means anything which is important from your message you can always write, so that postscript is somebody will pay attention to that. So these are the components of letter. Now there are some types of letter. What are the different types of letter? Letters of inquiry. Then comes the complaint letter. These are different types of letters. Letters of inquiry, complaint letter, adjustment letter, sales letter, appreciation letter, covering letter for job application, thank you letter, follow up letters, acceptance letters or rejection letters, resignation letters, and persuasive letters. So these are the common types of letters. See, this is the letter of complaint. Example, there's address, date, inside address, salutation. See, today we unpack the goods sent by you against your order number and your invoice number. We regret to bring to your notice that items number 3, 12, 16 are not according to your samples. Against item number 13, you have mentioned 25 rugs, whereas we found only 18 pieces. Also, we are sorry to say that packing was so defective and the carton used was so old that it gave way in transit, with the result that item number 4, 5 and 15 has been soiled. Right, so this is how you can write the letter of complaint. Now the types of letters actually are divided into two main categories. One is called business letter and one is called personal letter. So personal letters is something which you send to your family members, but when we're talking about business letters, business letter is an important part of business correspondence. It must look professional. It gives first impression that a potential client or buyer receives about you. It is the first impression. It shows your maturity and professionalism. The format used to write business letter is specific, and a simple format of a letter helps in conveying the message clearly to the readers. So these are the business letters. Now, what is the format of business letters? One thing is it is block format. The most common layout of a business letter is known as block format. So there are different ways in which you write the business letter. So first one is block format. In the block format, all parts of the letter are started at the left margin. So everything on the left. And these days, what is acceptable format is the block format. The body of the letter is single spaced with one line left between each paragraph, and the paragraphs are not indented. You don't have to indent the paragraph, means no space. See, this is the block format. First comes the date, then comes the inside address, salutation, subject, and all the paragraphs sincerely, everything is on the left. यहाँ पे फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ में पहले आप थोड़ी सी स्पेस छोड़ते थे, इंडेंट करते थे, वैसा नहीं है, राइट. एवरीथिंग इज ऑन द लेफ्ट. दिस इज मोस्ट सिंपलर एंड ईजिएस्ट, कोई कन्फ्यूजन ही नहीं है, एवरीथिंग ऑन द लेफ्ट. So this is called block format. See, it's given over here. The first paragraph of a typical business letter is used to state the main point of the letter. Begin with a friendly opening, then quickly transition into the purpose of your letter. Use a couple of sentences to explain the purpose, but do not go in detail until the next paragraph. So this is the first paragraph. Second, beginning with the second paragraph, state the supporting details to justify your purpose. These may take the form of background information, statistics, or first-hand accounts. Few short paragraphs within the body of the letter should be enough to support your reasoning. And finally, in the closing paragraph, briefly restate your purpose and why it is important. If the purpose of your letter is employment related, consider ending your letter with your contact information. However, if the purpose is informational, think about closing with gratitude for the reader's time. So, whatever action you want them to take, it should be concluded, your letter should be concluded with that. So, this is how block format should be used. Please go through all these for a minute and then we can move ahead. Now the next one is modified block format. So another widely used format is known as modified block format. The body of the letter and the sender and recipient's addresses are left justified and single spaced. For the date and complementary clause and signature block are right aligned. So why it is modified? Because only some part is right, otherwise everything is left. See, address, salutation, and all the three paragraphs are left aligned, but only the date and your complementary clause and the signature, they are right aligned. So this is called modified block format. And the next one is semi block. So the final and least used style is semi block. It is much like the modified block, except that each paragraph is indented instead of left justified. Each paragraph is indented. So what is semi-block? See, it's like this. Just like modified block, your date and your complementary clause is on the right, but here only the paragraphs are indented, right? So that is the first, second, and I'm sorry, third also. Here also there is indented. This much is semi-block format. But now don't get confused. All you should be using ideally is the block format, means everything on the left hand side. That's the ideal thing to use. Now I'm just going to take you through the phrases which will help you to write a letter easily. Okay, now we are talking about the useful phrases for letter writing. So what are the useful phrases? One by one we will see. The first thing is salutation. So what different salutation? See, dear Mr. Brown, dear Miss White, dear sir, dear sirs, dear ma'am, madam, dear sir or madam, gentlemen, right? So you can write any salutation. You can write the name, which is perfectly fine. It is a formal expression. So this is how you can write the salutation. It can be starting. Now how can you start the letter? So starting completely depends on the purpose of the letter. We are writing to inform you that, to means anything, to confirm, to request, to inquire. So we are writing to inform you, I am contacting you for the following reason. So this is how you can begin. I recently read or heard about and would like to know, or having seen your advertisement in this newspaper, I would like to apply for the job. I would be interested in obtaining or receiving. I received your address from and would like to, or I'm writing to tell you about, right? So be very clear about the introductory paragraph about what has to be done. So that is called the starting part. Then you can also refer to the previous contact. Suppose you are referring to the earlier conversation, then you will always write, thank you for your letter of March 15. Thank you for contacting us. In reply to your request, thank you for your letter. Or it was a pleasure meeting you in London last month. Or I would like to confirm the main points we discussed on Tuesday. So I please take a minute and go through these points. Okay, next one is making a request. So how do you make a request? Please go through these points. We would appreciate if you would, or I would be grateful if you could, or could you please send me? Okay, I'm going to change it. Okay, offering help. So how do you offer help? Then giving bad news. Unfortunately, if you're not able to, let's say that if you're not able to fulfill the order and all those problems are there, then you just, how do you share? We regret to inform you, I'm afraid it won't be possible. Unfortunately, we cannot or unable to. Then complaining, then you can use all these expressions for the complaining part. Next one, apologizing. Next one is about the orders. If you want to place an order, then how do you do that? Please read. Okay, next one is about the prices. See, please send us your price list, or you will find enclosed our most recent catalog and price list. Please note that our prices are subject to change without notice. We have pleasure in enclosing a detailed quotation. We can make you a firm offer of, or our terms of payments are as follows. So these are related to the prices. If you're referring to any payments, then our record shows that we have not yet received payment of, or according to our records, or please send payments as soon as possible, or you will receive a credit note for the sum of. So these are all referring to the payments. And if you're enclosing some documents, then I'm enclosing, or please find enclosed, or you will find enclosed, or enclosed herewith. Or if you're making any closing remarks, please go through. This is how, if you are referring to future businesses, we look forward to a successful working relationship in the future. We would be pleased to do business with your company. I would be happy to have an opportunity to work with your firm. That's how you can narrate. If you are referring to future contact, I look forward to seeing you next week, or looking forward to hearing from you, or looking forward to receiving your comments. I look forward to meeting you on, or would appreciate a reply at your earliest convenience. An early reply would be appreciated. So this is how you can write. If you're ending your business letters, you can just write sincerely, yours sincerely, or sincerely yours, regards, best wishes, best regards, best, right? All these expressions you can give. And now one of the types is persuasive letters. So what are persuasive letters? Um, Persuasive letters are mainly intended to convince the readers, and they are more likely to grant easy, or likely to reject, difficult. Means, if the idea is to convince the reader to grant something, so they are likely to either grant or they are likely to reject. So it's both. Now, what is the purpose? The purpose is to make the reader act. Persuasive letter is something which you will always be writing. Let's say, even if you are writing an email, persuasive letter is something which you will always write, right? Let's say that you want you want to get into a contract, sign a deal with somebody. So all you have to do is, like, convince the reader so that they can act on something. Or let's say that you want to uh, shoot your products at a particular location, so you are writing to a person who belongs to that location to let you shoot. So that means you're writing a persuasive letter. So it should be in such a language that the person is convinced to use it, so to make the reader act, or to build a good image. You're trying to build a good image in the mind of the reader, so they let you do it. Or you try to create a good relationship, so they let you do it. So it all depends upon what kind of language you are using to convince the person. And there are four important things which are related to persuasive letters. First one, details of your request, right? Your whatever request has to be made, all the details should be written. Facts about the reader, whatever you know about them, whatever you have to tell about yourself, that should be added. Specific action desired, like you need to be very clear, because you're trying to convince somebody to do something. So whatever specific actions are, that you are desiring, that should be clearly mentioned. And any possible objections, anything that can be acting as an objection that you feel will not work, that should also be mentioned. So these are all the persuasive letters. This is how you should be writing a persuasive letter, in fact. Okay, so I hope no confusion. So this is about the letter writing. Now what we will be doing is, we will be beginning with memos. In the next presentation we will be starting with memos.